Hello, welcome to episode 11 on recorded on Halloween 2024. So you know it's going to be extra spooky up in here. We definitely didn't blow all of our seasonal energy on the Splitsmas special. I'm LaurenWhatevs here today with some of the best people in the Snap community. Let's be real, my regular co-hosts. First up, it's an odd episode, so we're going to its-just-rie. How was your week in Snap? And keep it snappy.
Okay, we try. It's more of a goal sometimes, an aspiration. Okay, mine starts with alliances. I want to say, so we noticed this week they swapped it so that the personal rewards to max out is like double what it used to be, but the rewards for the alliance are much less, and the special reward, like the mystery variant or the border, is on the personal side. And I think thank you, Second Dinner. This is such a good move. I think it encourages like greater cooperation, less hostility in alliances, because I don't know how most alliances are, but mine has like a couple people who have, you know, a lot of points, like triple to 10 times the amount of points of others in the alliance, and then kind of some with 0 or very low, and then a mid-range, you know, but kind of scaling on the lower side. And, you know, this had to be causing a lot of alliance churn, I think. Like, right, for people looking to get max rewards in alliance, which my alliance wasn't, like, hitting most weeks, the very last one. They could have, this is why I wanted to be grateful for it, because they could have taken alliances in a different direction. They could have had like competitions where it's like grind for more points for the alliance. So your alliance wins a leaderboard and gets rewards.
I think it's quite sweaty enough.
Right, but I'm saying they could have done that, and I mean, we've seen leagues, right, and which would have just meant more of like people trying to get in these ultra competitive leagues, getting kicked out of leagues, and you know, leagues should be a good time for everyone, I think, and everyone should be happy to be not leagues, alliances, you know, in their alliance. So I think this was a really good change for people to get the max reward. They can do that themselves or not, and I appreciate it. Anyway, I wanted to preface that as a bit of a news and a bit of an appreciation. But my actual week is I got a bounty to do a destroyer deck, which I haven't in a while. Destroying some other card I don't even remember. Normally I wouldn't pick those up. I usually just try and pick up whatever will fit what I want to play already. But sometimes that's not what the bounty board is, you know? So I was like, sure, why not? And I made like this super fun destroy deck. It's called, as all my destroyer decks always are, It's a Gundam! Sorry, from Gundam Wing. My like prove me wrong meme with my feet up on the table is like, if you liked an anime in middle school, you love it forever. Even if it's not that great in retrospect. Okay. But this is so fun, and I think one of the reasons it's so fun is that it beats a decent amount of counters for destroy decks, such as Cosmo, etc. So it's got destroyer, and the fun comes in. This is where, like, I think Atuma change, people probably explored this when he changed, but this is so fun. Because you have Electro, which you can run into Atuma, or you can run into Lady Deathstrike. You could also, after playing Atuma, put a Nimrod on that Atuma. You've got a Shuri for the Nimrod or for your destroyer. And then because you have that extra energy from Electro, maybe, you've also got Arnim, Zola, and Nolan there. Some classic destroy cards. Killmonger, because people playing a lot of Zoo right now, and Bounce. As well, it's, you know, so it's a good tech for not a low cost. And then X-23 and Wolverine, because they, you know, They play well with the Tomb of Destroyer. And then here's the change I'm actually making. I think next time I played the deck, I had Agony in it. You want to hit her on an X-23 or Wolverine, but like Nimrod's her only really great target. I think Spider-Ham would be better there because it's like you're not mad about losing 1 power.
Just too small.
That's good tech.
Agony is.
Yeah, I think so. I that's why I have to test it. That's why I didn't just straight out say it because I mean, getting around an X-23, Wolverine is nice. But this deck is so much fun when it pops, and there's so many times people have put down a Cosmo on my Electro lane and stuff, and I'm like, you don't even know. Or Lady Deathstrike is so fun when you see all the Draculas. If you do not want to respect a Dracula, let me tell you, Lady Deathstrike is the card. So it's honestly just been a lot of fun. I haven't Nimroded in a while, so.
I love the Atuma to kill a Electro through Cosmo.
Yeah.
You can also Electro Lady Deathstrike.
That's very cool too.
Yeah.
I guess I know why I don't see more of that, but also why don't I? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean we see Electro Viper, Electro Blink,
and that curves neatly.
Deathstrike seems great. Yeah,
it's so.
There's so many good lines in this.
Too, but
yeah, it doesn't always hit, but a lot of the times it does. And like I said, so many good lines, and it's one of those decks people don't expect it, right? People are expecting Deadpool Destroy. That's mostly, I feel like, what I see out there, or that style, and so it's they don't know how to counter it. Throwing Cosmos and stuff around. I mean, an armor is still an armor. But that's what's great about it is because fine, I'll put a Tuma in the armor lane. That'll protect him from both their Shang and my Destroyer. You know what I mean? You have all these options to play around the typical counters to destroy. It's fun. All right. Also, I never play Electro, so that's been a good time. That was my week. I'm sorry, I took way long. That was not snappy in any sense.
That was interesting and good. Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right, we'll throw it over to Ben then. Ben Roller, how was your week in Snap?
Oh, okay. Well, my week in Snap, I will endeavor to keep it snappy. As always, hashtag pod goals part 3. Are we doing that this month? I wasn't sure for a minute, but I don't know. Yeah, the SP thing has been a bit of a... I don't know. Yeah, there was a valley, and now I am back up at a summit or whatever. I don't know. I'm getting back up there again. It might be worth pushing for it. It might not. I don't know. I've proven I can do it, but it might be more time than I really want to throw at it in this final week to make the top 1,000 to the global leaderboard. But I don't know. I might just get there playing for funsies because it's been going well. The deck that has been doing the best for me right now is a Zabu Surfer deck that I built earlier in the month. And then I sort of set it aside because I was getting into more experimental ideas and stuff sort of based on it. But this was safe and worked. And then it's always good to keep the safe decks that work around so that you can go back to those later. So that's Aranya, Zabu, Forge, Jeff, Brood, Silver Surfer, Red Guardian, Hope Summers, Sebastian Shaw, Absorbing Man, Scarlet Spider, and Gwenpool. Scarlet Spider just doing work. I still believe in this card very much. And Red Guardian, hell of a card. Really turns off a lot of stuff. Other deck I've been playing is the deck from last week's Square, Scornmaster, the discard deck with Swordmaster and Scorn, Gambit, Grandmaster, all the stuff. I really enjoy playing that deck. I was playing that deck when I ran into King of Bros, who knocked me out of Snap Judgments League, mentioned a couple weeks ago. Shout out to King of Bros. Congratulations on getting second place in our pod. I think they lost to Schlauds at the end or something.
But I think I heard that they beat Sizer, which is impressive.
They sure did beat Sizer, which is impressive. So congratulations to King of Bros. And I was also pleased that when I ran into King of Bros on the ladder, I was playing the deck from the square that I had put out a few days earlier. And I love... I don't know. I think it's funny to be playing the thing that I told everyone I would be playing. And also, like, I don't know. I'm a firm believer in playing the hits. And so I always want to be talking about the decks I'm actually playing so that if you see me on the ladder, you know that it'll be something that I either have talked about or am going to talk about on the podcast. I don't know. I just think that's kind of fun and cool. What other decks have I been playing? Oh, yes. For the weekend mission, I dusted off my Toxin ideas and kept playing that. Even after I had completed the weekend mission, I was having fun doing bounce things and experimenting there. Yeah, I still think Sage is a beast, as I said last week. Just a real good card.
I wish Beast were wiser, so you could say Sage is a beast and Beast is a sage.
Beast is pretty sage, though. Yeah. All is
does have those sayings.
He's got those 10-cent words and literary allusions and things, and he's always, saying high school English teacher shit.
Maybe we could say that then.
Yeah, I think we could. I think it was perfectly fair. In my week, slightly Snap adjacent, I tried the Pokemon trading card game Pocket mobile app thing, and big shrug. I love the Pokemon trading card game, or I have very strong positive associations because it was where the benjaminroller card game journey began, those many years ago. But yeah, I don't know about this. It's not as much fun as Marvel Snap, is what I will say about it. But I recommend folks check it out if they're curious. And yeah, that's the week in Snap and a Snap adjacent thing for me.
Yeah, I want to agree on Pokemon. I actually, my entry into TCGs was Magic. I had a friend whose brother had handed him a bunch of like the original Magic cards. So we played that before Pokemon came out, but I did also play a lot of Pokemon TCG, and I love the IP, especially the video games.
Mm-hmm.
The mobile game I've been playing for like a month because I flew to New Zealand, as so many did. It has some interesting ideas. It's very like the collection aspect of it is interesting, but even the being able to open 2 boosters, like you get 10 cards every day for free. And that's like, it's really novel and exciting at first, but then you start getting all repeats, or you get packs that don't have anything rare or special in it. And it's just like, it lost its luster really fast. I have to admit, I still haven't played a single match against a human in that game. Like I've played against AI. Yeah, I've done tons of the AI matches. I finished almost every single one. I think I have like 2 left at the highest difficulty.
My sample size is 1, but everybody disconnects when they start losing.
Everybody.
Right. Yeah, by which I mean the one person I played last night disconnected when they started losing. So be aware of that if you find that shit obnoxious.
Yeah, I've just found it so slow. Like, it does have some interesting decisions to make, but I just feel like I could get that experience so much more compact by playing Marvel Snap. So I have very little interest. That said, it takes like 5 minutes to go in and get my packs every day, so I'm going to stick with it a little while longer. I don't know where it's going to go.
Currencies and items to reduce cooldown timers, and like the whole thing is so inscrutable. I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to get this deep into it, but yeah, I just this is not a game for serious people.
My experience is that I downloaded it. I have opened some packs. I have not unlocked being able to play the card game that is within this collection.
Yeah, I found that.
Somewhere there's a card game in there. I have not leveled up enough to play it yet. Any day now. It did give me permission to play another phone game that is honestly better for what Pokemon Pocket is for me, but I will save that for End Banter because way too off topic. But tell us about your week. Or did you? Where are we at?
I've got a few things to say besides Pokemon.
There we go.
I think my ranked climb has been going kind of like Ben's. Like I'm just playing for fun, but it's been going well. I peaked in the top 10,000. Like I hit like 9,090. I don't know, 998.9, something like barely in the top 10,000. And then the next match I dropped back to below 10,000. But considering I came from 28,000 after clip hunting, that's pretty good. Yeah, it feels like, I'm like 1 or 2 seasons of this, like playing for fun, but also playing kind of well before I can like take it seriously for another season. So I like that. It's fun. I did get an avatar this month that I wanted to give an infinity border, the Nightmare Peach Momoko Captain Marvel, where she's got like black goo coming out of her neck. Yeah. When Rhea was talking about the darkness calling to her, and I'm like, ooh, I have this avatar that's kind of like calling to me, and I want to be able to rock that when anyway, I got it on my second run on Infinity Conquest. I used a safety blade deck. It's called Cobra Blade. Of course, all the decks we're talking about will be in the show notes and stuff, but I'll read it off right now.
I've been running that deck too for my. You're fine. I did play one of my first Infinity ticket yesterday, and I got to match 5, and I lost. I'm not even going to say the deck I lost to because it's embarrassing. But so it's devastating. It's hard to get to all the way to the 4th match and fight it out to like 5 health each or whatever.
I lost my first Infinity run against a suboptimal destroy deck, so I will disclose that.
Yeah, right.
I played poorly, and it was one of the rare instances where I felt at a disadvantage because I wasn't using a tracker, because I was like, I think I've seen all 12 cards, but I'm not sure. If they have null, I'm losing, but I'm pretty sure I've seen everything and they don't have null, and then they had null.
All right, I'm just going to reveal it because, the lesson of this is, like, I played all my 5 games in a row. I was very tired in the last one, like, really out of it. I lost to an Agatha deck. And match 5 Infinity Quest. And you know why? Because my Spider Ham. I didn't realize, they were playing the Pixel Agatha, and their title was playing Agatha. And I'm like, and they never were actually playing Agatha, not an Infinity Conquest. And I was just like kind of mindlessly, but this is my 5th match. I played so long for hours, and I had a headache, and I was tired. And it took me until the 4th game with them. I'm like, oh no, I'm hitting their Agatha with my Spider Ham every time.
Oh dear.
They don't. That's what I could do. And then finally I held back the Spider Ham. But it was too late.
It was too late.
Then I got locked into some bad RNG, and so I didn't have the
cubes to spare.
So space out your games. Don't play match 5.
Okay, so that deck list. This is a safety blade deck. It's Kitty Pryde, Silver Sable, Maria Hill, Zabu, Hawkeye, Kate Bishop. At this point, you might be able to tell this is a Wiccan deck. Like, these are all cards that make it very easy to ramp into Wiccan. Marvel Boy, still good. Rogue, Copycat, Shang-Chi, Gwenpool, Wiccan, and Eliath. I have loved this deck. It's probably my
slightly
go ahead.
Different version of this deck. So I call my deck Cobra-Rie, but it's pretty much Safety's deck. But I swapped out, I don't have Silver Sable, and I put in Spider Ham, and I think I would just keep in Spider Ham even if I had Silver Sable, to be honest. I think Spider Ham is such a great counter card, and useful for all sorts of things. But also I swapped out Copycat. To me, I was pulling a lot of Killmongers, and since you weren't stealing the ability from that card anymore, you're now just copying it. It's not really like a counter as much anymore. And I got wrecked hard by an Affliction deck. So I swapped in Luke Cage. And it's been so useful because I put a lot of my early cards out in unknown locations. And usually the biggest danger of that is negative locations, especially for small cards. So my version has been running Spider Ham and Luke Cage instead of Copycat and Silver Sable. So just if you don't have those cards, there's some ideas for subs.
Yeah, there's certainly swaps here. Copycat, I don't know how much I played her, but she definitely informed my strategy. Like, I played against a negative deck, and the way you beat negative is by, this is also how you beat Scream, is you snap aggressively. If they don't have Ravonna or Zabu or Psylocke out on 2, you snap because you're in a stronger position now. And it may not go in your favor, but it's like you have to snap when the situation is in your favor.
Oh, yeah. Even
so, like,
just
you know,
a little bit.
Yeah, Copycat grabs negative. I'm like, they're not getting negative this game. I don't even care what they do. I'm snapping turn 1.
No, but they don't anymore, right? She doesn't
steal it, but they're at the bottom of the deck. So the only way
So
they
they
get
need a shuffle effect if they want to see it that game.
Yep, they either need a lot of deck thinning or they have to get hit by like a Korg or play 4, something like that. See, most games your deck isn't getting shuffled. It certainly can happen.
Have I just not read Copycat? She does the bottom card?
Bottom card of the deck. Yep.
Oh, then that's why it was so helpful knowing all those Killmongers weren't going to go off. It always seemed, because when I played it, I always was snapping because I'm like, oh, they can't Killmonger me. And I was correct. I just thought I was wrong later.
Yeah.
Okay.
You just thought you were getting lucky?
And then I was like, boo, she does it. Maybe I'll put her back in.
Yeah, that's why the nerf was not that big a deal.
Yeah. And the other thing I wanted to shout out is my brother, who I only recently found out because he joined our alliance. We had one open slot. He's using the name LaurenWhatevs, which is adorable. I giggled when I saw that. He just started playing this month. I've been talking about this game constantly for 2 years, but he decided to try it so that he could understand the podcast, which is just adorable. And I love him.
We're just that compelling, I guess.
So he just started this month, or maybe last month, but he just barely started. And he hit infinite. And he's entering infinite at rank 1,544 because that's just what happens. If you can get into infinite in your first month or two, you start with a lot of snap points. But I'm like, his second match in post infinite is against rank 13. I'm like, oh, this is, and he has like 500 CL.
Yeah.
But so I'm very impressed. It took me 5 months to get my first infinite. But the CL gods have been very kind to him. He has drawn Patriot, Mystique, and Ultron already.
That's pretty good, yeah.
Yep. Okay.
That'll take you a long, long way.
Yeah, I was like, that'll take you all the way to the end of Series 3 if you want it to. Okay. Let's talk about this week's new card, Anti-Venom. A 4/7, despite being data mined at 4/6. On reveal, set the cost and power of your deck's top card to 0. Did you two get him?
I did not.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh,
you didn't go for the 2 week or the 2 card week?
No, I've been seeing a lot of Supergiant around and a lot of Anti-Venom around, and I think Anti-Venom is the better of those cards that I'm seeing a lot of lately. But yeah, I don't know. I wonder if the past week has been going so well for me because so many people are playing Anti-Venom things and they aren't working. I don't know. Or not the past week, but like the past couple days. Because that's when my SP has really been shooting skyward since Anti-Venom came out. But I don't know. Maybe it's the Copycat thing. There are so many factors at work all over the place, and it's a card that I haven't been playing with, so I don't really feel confident speaking to its quality. But I am curious to know what you all think of it.
Well, I'm glad that you skipped, even though it was a 2 card week, because you're like, I'm not going to play Supergiant. And so I was like, that's not a 2 card week then. Happening. If you're not going to play it, it's not a 2 card week. Like, okay. Ree?
Okay. I put together, like I talked about last week, I put together my ongoing idea. And a 0/0 onslaught, even if you don't draw Luke Cage, is as fun as it sounds when your deck's all ongoing cards. It's all ongoing cards except for Spectrum and Anti-Venom. And I kind of had the opposite experience. I got 2 gold tickets with this immediately.
Ooh,
no losses.
Good.
Like, you know? Which, you know, I was, because it was brew testing. It went there. What I have learned is Madam Web is indeed a champ. In ongoing decks, she's so good. Like the tech of her getting to move Cosmo, getting to both get your initial guess with Cosmo, and trying to get them, and then getting to shift that, and they don't know if you're going to shift it. Like, that's pretty handy. Also, US agent, right, is always most valuable, usually played last when you can smack it down on a 4 or 5 they've already played, so they don't know to avoid it. But here you can actually play it on curve because, you can move it around with Madam Web later. So
I love that.
Yeah, right? And throwing an Ant-Man in there, you kind of always know you're going to have that lane full. Because probably sometimes the problem with Ant-Man and ongoing decks is like, are you going to really fill that lane, But if you're kind of based around a Madam Web strategy where you're stacking a lot in one lane and moving out, then like you don't have that problem with Ant-Man. Anti-Venom, the idea behind the deck was that you are not mad to hit anything in the deck with Anti-Venom, but also the deck is otherwise synergistic. So it was Ant-Man, Howard the Duck. A lot of people were saying Howard the Duck was bait for Anti-Venom. But in my deck, since it's an ongoing deck, and it already made sense for Howard to be in a Spectrum ongoing deck, he fit. I do kind of agree. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't be playing him if I wasn't playing an ongoing deck. Madam Web, US Agent, Captain America. Because once again, I wanted a lot of these to be good hits with Onslaught. Cosmo, Luke Cage, Anti-Venom, Iron Man, Claw, Spectrum, Onslaught. And yeah, I mean, at least at first, it was really dominating for me. All the hits with Anti-Venom were great, and Luke Cage was out so much of the time that I didn't even feel the pain of like a 0 power Spectrum or anything. So, and then, okay, so just last night before the podcast, I was like, I should see what other people are doing with Anti-Venom. You know what I mean? Like, because I'm like, here's my idea, and I ran it, and I didn't even, I did a Ben. I like thought this out and made it, and I have not changed it after I played it at all, which is not usually how I deck build. Usually I kind of get a loose idea and refine it. I bend this deck. The so I put together auto anti-venom. I just had it build me the card. Ooh. I put together like three cards off of my deck, like 4, I think. It had instead it had armor, lizard, iron lad, and Mobius.
I was going to suggest Iron Lad. I really like Iron Lad in the Spectrum deck. Plus, it gives you another synergy with Howard. But,
I agree. It's
not
a
ongoing,
good
but he's going to be ongoing.
He sometimes is.
He will almost always be effectively, right? Just like Mystique if you ran that.
But I was impressed. I'm like, the deck based on data built almost the same deck. I didn't know whether to be impressed or like, yeah, that's just the obvious.
I don't know. It's those auto decks, especially on day one, are.
No, this wasn't day one though. This was last night, so at least had a couple days.
I don't know.
I did the day one Anti-Venom deck, and it gave me a Scream deck.
Yeah,
that's what they usually do.
Are you sure? I feel like the auto deck used to be better, and it's gotten worse. I don't know.
I still like mine. I think Onslaught it's like it's so good. Okay.
I grabbed a card. It took 2 keys.
Okay.
I tried cooking my own thing with Valkyrie and Cersei. I didn't try very hard. I maybe did like 2 iterations on it. Didn't love it. Probably because I never hit any of the 5 costs with Anti-Venom. And I've tried a bunch of other people's Anti-Venom decks, including Spectrum decks, and they've felt fine, but I haven't loved any of them. Anti-Venom feels kind of meh to me. However, I was interested in him both for like just combo potential. He seems like a card that could drive a cool clip someday. And also, we're going to get to this, but I think he's a very interesting card with Frigga. So,
and that's part of it. So many people I saw were like, "Hey, worth the 6K tokens or spotlight keys for the fun I'm having deck building with him." Just working on different ideas. And I mean, that's part of the fun of card games, right? And it's worth
Absolutely. That's a lot of the fun of card games.
So he hasn't clicked for me
so
yet.
many different ideas for him.
But I feel optimistic that something will. I don't know. I still think he's probably like a super. I was gonna say super superfluous card. Like, I don't think anybody needs him.
Yeah, I agree.
Just not even a little bit fluous.
Yeah. All right. Next week's spotlights, which I think we will keep it brief because we're going to be talking about next season's cards in full when we stack rank them later. But the season pass is Surtur. I'm assuming we're all getting the season pass because it's the season pass.
Yes.
Okay. I think that's
sorry. I'm enthusiastic about it. I just I have no sleep and no energy, but I'm psyched for the season pass as I am every season. It's the best value in Snap, and I love that value.
I like the value. I don't care about the card, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, I also don't care about this card.
Frigga, without getting too deep into her yet, are you planning on getting Frigga? 3/3 on reveal. Add a copy of the last card you played to your hand, if able.
Well,
undecided.
All right, we're gonna talk about the rankings, aren't we?
Yeah, so don't go too much into prep. Just like, are you gonna get her? Are you interested in this card?
Definitely more interested than I am in Surtur. I think. I think it's a more interesting card for sure.
I have this ladies with swords makes me really want her, but I don't know. I don't know how much I'm gonna end up playing with her.
Yeah.
What about you, Lauren?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
I'm definitely getting her. I think that people are missing a lot of the combos that she will have. Some of them including Anti-Venom. I also think you can play her with a Grandmaster or on Wong. Like these are big combos to do, but if you copy something small enough, that's who doesn't want three demons or 3 0 cost Iron Man?
She'll combo well with King Eitri, which is an activate card, so you could set up some shenanigans.
I mean, he seems
in a Thor deck.
I feel like we're just going to be talking about these cards again in the ranking section, specifically those two cards and how they interact with each other.
All right, so we won't go too deep into it.
I might get her, is what I'll say.
Yeah,
I will get her. I haven't even seen how good the spotlight artwork is for her friends, who are Copycat and Red Guardian.
Pretty decent, but also great cards, right? Just really good cards.
Those spotlight friends are some real good spotlight friends. If you want to build my kinds of surfer decks, you want those two cards.
Red Guardian is my favorite all-around tech card. If I can only slot one tech card, counter card in a deck, it's usually Red Guardian. It used to be Juggernaut. So,
Spotlight
we were just talking about how good Copycat was.
Maybe it's going to be an expensive week for me. The Red Guardian is MCU Red Guardian, which is really fun.
Oh, really? They got the David Harbour look, do they?
Yeah.
I should have pulled it up ages ago. Let me see.
We don't normally even talk about the variants. But that is part of that's part of how I'm deciding between tokens and keys.
I agree. I totally decide that, and I like those variants, so I'd be fine getting them.
Yeah.
It's just I only have so many keys.
It's keys for me. I'm definitely going for Frigga. And yes, I will throw in. I think Red Guardian and Copycat are both great cards. They are among top 10 3-cost cards in the game, both of them, give or take. At least, and they're both pretty generic cards too, right? They're both quite flexible. You can throw them into a lot of different things. Okay. Next up, we had an OTA. And like usual, we record on Wednesdays typically. So by the time we're talking about the OTA, it's a week old. So we're going to keep it fairly brief, unless there's something interesting to say.
Also, let's be honest. It's actually Thursday this time.
Yeah, you're right. This time we're
The
recording
listener
on Thursday.
deserves to know.
It's still true that last time the OTA hadn't come out, and it's now been out for a week. So it was all stat changes for the most part, and even the ones that were ability changes were still just number tweaks. Sorta. Storm went from 3-2 to 4-5. This is like a really big one, right? I think it's very interesting that she's far less playable as a 4 than as a 3. Like, that is a very expensive cost jump.
Mm-hmm.
But I like that it came with 3 power. Like, that is, I think it recognizes that like a turn 4 Storm is so much weaker, even when she was a 3 energy card, because your opponent has built up the board more. You are less reliable, less consistently able to play her on an empty lane. A lane that's empty on your opponent's side.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I will say, okay, this is my interesting thing for the OTA is that the only Cerebro by principle that I ever dabble in is C5. And her going to 5, along honestly with the Zabu change, led to some new fun to be found in dabbling in C5.
Good. The Doom's in there for sure, right?
We put together what the C5 deck, which is called Cerebros, but the S is a 5 instead.
Of course it is.
And Bros
is the Rie, R-I-E?
Oh no, I always forget to do my name puns in the deck until people rename them. But yeah, no, it's got like Zabu, Martyr, Medusa, Lizard Silk, Cerebro, Spider-Man, Captain Marvel, Enchantress, Omega Red, Storm, Doctor Doom, which is maybe not the best possible configuration, but Storm plays in with Spider-Man, with Doctor Doom, with Captain Marvel, with Silk. And then, kind of Enchantress, Lizard, kind of classic C5. Medusa, right? Belonging there now. Martyr, I won't lie, probably like Hydra. I don't have Hydra Bob. Definitely, probably Hydra Bob would be better. But playing Martyr and Captain Marvel in the same deck is just fun. It's just fun. If you can get one to move and then the other to move, it's just joy.
Yeah,
okay.
And if Captain Marvel is the one who's moving
you want to play, exactly, yep.
Which is generally the case, then Martyr throws it and Captain Marvel fixes it.
Yep.
Right.
Hopefully.
And Zabu, right, makes you able to so much easier play all these more 4-5 cards, which are valuable. So it's just some new fun with C5. The downside of Storm becoming more of a meme deck card. No, I like C5 because it's not all in on Cerebro. You don't play Mystique, it can win without hitting it,
I have very mixed feelings about this. Storm is one of my favorite cards in the entire game. Easily a top 10 of all time.
She only has good variants. Only.
That's true.
Yeah,
and
it's true.
She is one of the very few representatives of the lockdown archetype, which has constantly been nerfed, and it's my favorite one. So it's like...
How mixed can your feelings be about this Lauren?
I hate this. This is happening because they're trying to break up the Legion War Machine thing, which we talked about when we first.
Access your anger. Turn into Darth Lauren over this. What have they done to lockdown, Lauren?
They killed your girl.
They killed your genre.
I don't know how unplayable she is, though. 3 more power is decent.
I've seen these 4-5 storms out in the wild. I am not impressed, I gotta say.
Yeah, I gotta say, she doesn't have as many good 5-cost follow-ups as she does 4-cost follow-ups.
You should name your next lockdown deck Return of the Lockdown. Okay, I'm sorry. It's very disappointing, but also I don't know how else they break up the War Machine Legion Storm thing, right?
It's true. This is like the logical thing that they picked.
I think 6-cost Legion is sad. It ruins a lot of cool
that makes
Legion
no
plays.
sense. I heard that idea floated, and it makes no sense.
Right. There are times you want turn 6 Legion, right? Like for the Nexus or for Bar with No Name. Like there are times, but also there's a lot of cool things you can do with a turn 5 Legion that would just disappear. You know, say the Raptors or Collapsed Mine or something like that. Or if you really want some chaos, Strange Academy.
Like it becomes a much more boring card if it costs 6. Like
totally.
Yeah.
And if War Machine goes back to being a turn 5 play, then it's back to old War Machine that nobody was playing.
Yeah.
So it's tough. I think it would be like a really niche thing, but I think they could have gotten away with if Legion gets played on Storm, then the 2 are flooding the next turn, not flooded.
I think that would be a great solution. But I don't know.
Isn't that how it used to work? Or at least Mirror Dimension used to work that way?
I think that's how everyone assumed it would work until the card came out.
Yeah, well, because that's how Mirror Dimension worked. Yeah. Yeah, that would be my preferred fix for this. Otherwise, I think Storm is the one who had to take the hit. Which also brings up the whole, like, do we want the low series cards taking hits for the high series cards?
No, we
that's
super
how
don't.
It tends to happen.
You know where I heard a spirited and insightful discussion of this concept? I heard it on How Can She Snap last week, where the Super Snap Bros were joined by... Let me check my notes. LaurenWhatevs? Oh, fascinating. It sounds a little familiar. But yeah, I thought your discussion of the OTA and the balance approach and low series cards paying for high series card sins. I thought it was right on point. I really enjoyed that episode, by the way. I encourage our listeners to check it out. Great podcast, great guest, great times.
Well, thank you, and I'll try to bring some new thoughts here.
Your thoughts over there were fine. Feel free to restate them here. They're very good thoughts.
I think the high series and low series thing, it often gets accused of, like second dinner greed, and that's part of it. But I think there's not true. Right, but I think it's more complicated than that. It's also higher series cards are newer, which means, did somebody just buy that card? Like, did somebody just get War Machine in a spotlight because he was updated? Do we want to punish them right after that happened? Or if it's a brand new card, like Agent Venom's not getting touched, partially because he's on sale right now, but partially because they don't have as much data for Agent Venom as they do for other cards.
I think they've got enough data for Agent Venom.
I mean, probably with how popular.
But no, there are other examples where, like, I think that's absolutely correct. Yeah, I think we know that Agent Venom is trouble. Like we're buffing Shadow King to 2/3 because of Agent. What the hell is that?
Yeah.
Speaking of, freaking wild change. Shadow King going 2/2 to 2/3 because he needed 50% more power. That's the best tech card.
That was the greasy wheel, or the squeaky wheel rather, that needed the grease. Oh wow, right. Shadow King wasn't cutting it.
We were talking about this before the pod started. Like, why is Shadow King played so much less? And my own personal series that so many of us are playing scalers, enough of them.
Yeah, I would rather play scalers than Shadow King. That's exactly why I don't play Shadow King very much. Yep.
I think that's part of it.
I only thought I should play him because I'm like, actually maybe worth taking out Howard or something to put Shadow King in the...
well, if you're doing ongoing stuff, you should absolutely be playing Shadow King.
But most of the decks, right, and across many archetypes, you got scalers, and that's more fun. That's more fun than
true.
Shadow.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
It's an impact of seeing the Shadow King and Luke Cage interaction changed, where now Shadow King removes modifiers instead of just adding a new one that's like equal to base power. So like, it was one way to attack Luke Cage decks is that Shadow King can actually affect them now, but it also made it so you can't run Luke Cage to defend your own stuff from Shadow King.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which I used to do frequently.
Yeah, totally.
Yep. That was like, they were buds like that.
I guess it's time for 4-cost Valkyrie.
I don't know. I don't know about that.
She would be busted. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just going to say the other cards besides Shadow King that gained a point of power. That is the change. Misery went from 4/7 to 4/8. Electro went 3/2 to 3/3. Daredevil went 2/2 to 2/3. And Meek went 1/0 to 1/1.
I don't think any of these cards really changed in their overall quality. I think Misery is still good. I think Meek is still not good right now. I think Daredevil is about the same. I think
I think Daredevil's way
exactly
easier.
The same.
Electro's the same. Daredevil's way easier to splash in now.
I agree.
Yeah, 2/3 is
one of the
a
more
lot better than
impactful.
2/2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like I think it makes it a lot easier to play Daredevil as just Daredevil. Doesn't necessarily have to have synergy with Gamora or Hobgoblin or whatever.
Although you probably don't just throw Daredevil into a deck. I mean, like, I wouldn't be throwing it in unless I had a really good idea of what I was doing it for, even at 2/3, just because, I don't know, 2/3 is not, I don't think this is like a general good cards card to like put in your, this is not, this ain't Jeff.
Well, you're also lower on tech than most people, right? Like, you don't play a lot of tech. So, whereas Daredevil can let you preempt some tech for your opponent.
What you're forgetting about 1 point of power in high impact, low cost cards is that a point of power is a big step to protecting them from Red Guardian. You know? I have Red Guardian a lot of Daredevils in my day, and he will be much harder now at 3 power, right? In comparison to like whatever else they might have played in that lane before Daredevil.
Yeah, you'll be hoping for a lot more like 50/50s on the Red Guardian to hit a Daredevil. Because if Kate Bishop is hanging out in the same spot, or something, you know.
Yep.
Lots of things have 3
Kate's
power.
So good.
It's true.
I love Kate.
Let me just ask your opinions. Electro, the reason they gave for Electro was that that Electro strategies right now tend to be all about getting rid of Electro, and they wanted it to be possible to play Electro again where you're just playing single card each turn with a better energy curve. Do you think this fixes that?
No.
No, me neither.
Not even a little. This card is exactly the same. This is like that Westworld thing where like I don't see anything there, or whatever the robots say when you try to show them something from like the wider world.
Invisible.
That doesn't look like anything to me. That's the phrase, I think.
No thanks, Electro, for the 1 extra point of power. You know?
Okay, there you go.
Good for something.
It makes it more valuable to destroy him instead of from erasing him with like a Cersei Viper blink.
I was just being nice. I don't really.
Okay. Other changes. Rock Slide goes 3/3 to 4/5. I think this makes sense. Darkhawk has always been strong. It's still strong. And part of the reason is it gets to do its thing and disrupt at the same time. Like, its power building and its disruption are the same actions.
But my question is, why isn't it Black Widow that went to 4?
Yes,
I
I know
agree.
that question too. Yes. Because Black Widow is way more annoying to get hit with multiple times, and that's been happening with decks.
It feels a lot fairer to get Black Widow once on turn 4. That's what I think.
Yeah.
I super agree, to be honest. But you know what's funny about this is, remember back in the day when the Darkhawk package was married to Zabu? And I think part of that was because Rockslide used to be 4, remember? This is a
Darkhawk also used
Rockslide.
to be 4, but yes.
True. So it's not totally. But when you saw him move to 4, didn't your heart just think, it'd be sure nice to Zabu that card?
Absolutely.
Because it's the Darkhawk package. It can definitely fit in a 4, a 4-drop deck. Fits everywhere. That's why it's so dangerous.
Darkhawk's still good. Like, it is a little worse. It loses a turn of the Rock's disruption, but I don't know. It's still very good. I don't think it loses out on a lot, and because of this change, and it comes with two extra power. So Claw loses 1 power from his ability, goes 5/4 plus 8 to 5/4 plus 7. I think he's still perfectly playable.
Yeah, but this is a step closer to 5/4 Claw, who put out +6 and was not playable. And I think Claw was just right. I think Claw was in a Goldilocks spot. That's what I think.
He's been good in my Anti-Venom deck. Obviously, as a 0/0 is still good, but I've been onslaughting him a lot. So that's been really helpful. But like when you think about it, like, yeah, I agree, because it used to be Claw. It feels closer to the 5/6 Claw, which was only mostly winning you lanes into like a Death Domain or a Sanctuary,
And mostly it wasn't winning you lanes.
Right, and the 5/8 Claw was helping you win like open lanes that they were playing into.
5/8 Claw was good at his job.
I wonder
I like cards like that.
I wonder how good his stats were behind the scenes, because he was being played a decent amount, but it's like,
I'm sure he was crushing in early series gameplay. Like, absolutely.
And that is what they cited. They cited early gameplay for this change.
I'm sure they're not wrong about that. Like, I have no doubt.
Yeah.
Once you hit CL 3000, your Claw gets an extra power. Yeah, I don't like this change. Certainly not as an end game player. Like, I do think he's still playable, but some cards in the game have to be the strongest cards, and I think it's good if some of them are the lower series cards, and some of them always have been. Iron Man has perennially been a good card. Yeah.
Also, there aren't that many good 5s. Like, let this one be one of them. Like,
right.
Yeah, 5 is a tough slot.
5/12
like,
is
you can't go around ruining good 5s. You're not going to have any 5s left to play. It's going to be Iron Man and Iron Man. Like, just let cards be good sometimes.
Right. 5/12 is very big, but it is spread across multiple lanes, and we see that with other cards. Squirrel Girl's a 1/4, but she spreads. Mr. Fantastic is a 3/6, but he spreads like...
The spread is like to the detriment of Squirrel Girl, but to the advantage of Claw. And like, Squirrel Girl is taking up space on multiple lanes, but Mr. Fantastic and Claw are hitting multiple lanes without taking up extra space. And so I think it's a net positive for them, whereas Squirrel Girl is a liability.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so like a Ms. Marvel.
I generally view hitting multiple lanes as a bonus. Like, that's a good thing. Like, I think that Scarlet Spider is so good because it hits 2 lanes, even though it does take up space on 2 lanes. I'm like, yeah, reaching into extra lanes is like generally good, unless it's Squirrel Girl or Debris. And when I say Debris, I mean like Debris and Patriot. And I squint at that. I don't know. Those are my thoughts on going wide with a single card. I think that's a good thing to do. I think that we like cards that can do that usually, like Miss Marvel, Doctor Doom. Like, that's a powerful effect. You want your cards to hit multiple lanes. That's what I think.
Oh, and I do think it's super cool to be able to do that onto a full location. I think that's one way Claw steals things, is people think you finished the location. You're like, Okay. Anything else on Claw? Okay, the last
decent card, but noticeably big hit.
Yeah. Possibly the headliner of the OTA, Typhoid Mary, a 4/10. Instead of doing -1 to all of your cards, she does -1 to your cards at her location, excluding herself. It's good. I think it kind of hurts her identity a lot.
Yeah.
Also, she was barely played. So
too. I have no strong feelings about this card or this change.
Oh, really? This was the most interesting change to me, because I know you guys aren't as hype on it, but I've been meaning for a while to make one of those like Coal Obsidian, like 10 pop decks with Scar. And the only reason I haven't messed with it yet is because Surtur's coming out next week.
Yeah,
so I was
it's
like,
going to be a
That will be
highlight
the time. Yep.
Uh-huh.
just waiting
It's
for
gonna
that one.
That's going to be a tier 1 deck next week.
I mean,
This
it
is
might
huge
already
for
be a
her
tier 1 deck, to
playability,
be
though.
honest.
I think. Only in her location. Like, I think it makes her a lot more playable.
It super duper does, and I think that the downside is, in some ways, it's smaller and more manageable than the other 410s, like downsides or requirements.
You would
in some
never
ways
play
it
her
is.
before without Luke, and here now you might, you know.
Well,
yeah,
you play her
I do
in
feel like she's
Sauron
lost
Zero.
her identity.
It's just
Like-
that Sauron and Zero
Yeah.
is kind of struggling really hard right now, right? Like, ever since Shuri lost her
Yeah.
multi-lane-ness, I mean, I guess that's not totally when Shuri died, but she has died since then.
Man, that is some ancient history at this point.
It's true. Yeah, I think it's over a year old at this point.
At least.
I just, US Agent, when he was first data mined, was going to be another Sauron card, and it's like, I'm sure more Sauron cards are coming eventually. Sauron spent a very long time being one of the best cards in the game. And like quietly, in a way that players weren't complaining about.
Yeah.
And I think it's bizarre that we still haven't got one single new Sauron card since Sauron was added to the game.
Yeah, I think it's probably due for another.
All right, we're going to move on to November season rankings. These are all based on data mines because we don't have an official video out yet. But the new season starts next week. So
Yeah, there may be a video by the time people are hearing this. So
they usually drop on Fridays. So yeah, pay attention to that. Maybe one of these things will be slightly adjusted. Okay, should we just go in order, give our rankings? And then I thought something we missed last time was saying our entire lists in order, like all at once. So people,
yeah,
think about that. I think that has some value.
It could, yeah. It wouldn't take long, so
Yeah,
why not?
Yeah.
Why
Okay.
not?
We're going to start off. We are including King Eitri, who is a card that we believe is coming in a limited time mode, probably Deadpool's Diner, based on some of the things that we've heard. Because I think in the roadmap they showed like Thanksgiving theming for Deadpool's Diner. So to me, that seems like it's a November thing. There is also Lawfey in the data mines, but he seems kind of like a Lasher, Uncle Ben, Tombstone type, where it's like,
we don't
he's
know
coming,
if or when we'll see
but
that card.
when are they coming? When's the card acquisition changes appearing? Who knows? So he's not included. So we are ranking 6 cards. The first one is Surtur, the 3/5 season pass. After you play a card with 10 plus power, this gains 3 power.
Yeah.
I put it as my number 1.
I've got it at number 2.
I
I mean,
have
like
it as-
these numbers are so silly. Like
Yeah.
they're
Yes.
good cards. They're all fine.
Well, and there's some ways that it's hard to measure, and I think we've talked about this before, but it's like, is flexibility more valuable than niche strength? I put Surtur at 2, but he easily could have been number 1. I think this is a super strong card. Although, we're currently in a meta with Little Shang, and I think next season Shang's going to be everywhere because he's going to eat these decks alive.
Right. But I've played decks before too, where I guess if you have an abs man, you could get him. Sometimes if you have enough big stats in a different lanes, like you can only shut him in
Grandmaster?
one.
Yeah.
You can Shang Grandmaster on turn 6.
But look at
You
this card.
can.
It starts at a 3/5, which is already,
That's a hell of a floor, right?
We know how Ben feels about 3/5 cards, And then it scales. And the way it scales is by putting more power on the board, not other conditions. It's by playing what you want to do already. It's just so frequently going to be a much bigger card. And it's not ongoing. So if they shung another lane, he's going to keep only a Shadow King, and Enchantress won't counter him. So, sorry, Ben?
So if Surtur makes it to 311, boom, your punch card's full, Scar is free, it's a 314. Like, it's just... I mean, sure, it's not always going to be a 314, but it's going to be a 314 enough that...
Or a 317, because you can play Scar and another 10 power card, which you probably have a few of those if in your Scar deck. It is going to be great for the big dumb idiot strategy of just like, I'm just going to plot power everywhere, and I don't really care where it goes. I'm just going to just go on raw strength.
But you could do a bigs and little deck like Kitty Pryde, Coal Obsidian. I think there's still some fun. I know, like, you guys are like, boo, boring, big cards, which, like, I
That's
can't,
not exactly it.
But, I think there's some fun to be had. I mean, maybe we'll get bored of them super quickly.
For sure. I'm going to, like... The weekend missions are going to be fun to accomplish. I like playing good cards sometimes, even the ones that aren't in my wheelhouse.
Yeah. So we all rated him pretty high. I think he'll be good.
Yeah. Scar's already been on the rise. This just seals the deal. I also think it leads to a very interesting meta because Agent Venom decks put out a ton of power, and this puts out a ton of power in a different way. Plus, brings Shang back into the meta. There's a lot of counterplay there. Fenris Wolf we'll talk about later, but I think he's also a very interesting part of this meta discussion.
Yep. I think these cards fit together in interesting ways.
Okay. Next up is Frigga. We already mentioned her. She's a 3/3 on reveal. Add a copy of the last card you played to your hand.
Yeah. I ranked this one at number 6, not because it's a bad card or anything. It looks quite promising for bounce, potentially unwieldy elsewhere. Good for hammer stuff, as we mentioned. And I, as I said last week, I don't hate the idea of getting a second copy of US Agent. Like, you play one early, which is not the optimal time to play it, but it is if you're doing 2 separate lanes. I think that could be cool. There's cool stuff. Lauren, you mentioned Grandmaster, and I'm not super sure about that one, but I'm also not super sure about not that one. So I don't know.
Right. It's a big multi-step combo. Right. And this isn't the only thing, but this is just imagine the possibilities. You have an Anti-Venom on 4. On turn 5, you play a 0-cost card, Frigga, Grandmaster. You have 2 more 0-cost cards. Maybe Grandmaster would make Frigga clone herself.
Yeah, that's what I think would happen.
Okay, so that's not good. Frigga on Wong, then.
Yeah.
How did you play Anti-Venom?
Yeah, I don't know. My thinking is, even if Frigga doesn't make it a huge splash at launch, copying a card is drawing a card, and so she's a stat bump away from mattering, no matter what is. And yeah, cards receive those stat bumps all the time. So I don't know.
I am surprised at how low her power is, and I wonder if that's a hint from the devs that this ability is stronger than we're realizing. Right?
Could be. I also don't think the devs always know better than we do about stuff like that. It's possible maybe she needs more stats and they just aren't up on that yet.
That's fair. I think on top of Anti-Venom shenanigans, Negative and Pixie are also worth considering. Basically, any discounted card should keep its discount when you clone it. I think Moon Girl would be busted as a 3-cost card, and this is kind of a way to do
how that works. They keep the discount. Are we sure about that? She's
making a copy of the last card you played, so I don't know why
if it's already on the board, does it have a different energy cost?
That's a good question.
I don't know. Because they get sucked over by Asteroid M, right? So but is that, I don't know.
It's a good question. Yeah, have I ever cloned a card from the raft? I don't know. Maybe not.
If you play a free 3-cost, it still gets sucked over by Asteroid M.
Right, it is a 3-cost card that costs 0. The capital C, lowercase c thing that they changed.
I rated her last as well.
That's right.
You have her at 6?
Yes, and not because I actually think I am going to end up picking her up probably with keys, because I like the variants and those cards. But I rated her last because, and here's why. I think, there's a lot of fun to be had with her. There's a lot of different ways I want to try her out, but she relies on multiple factors. She's going to be awkward a lot of the time. You draw her late. No good. And she's a 3 cost that, like, I don't think really looks great for a surfer deck, to be honest.
That's not what,
in comparison to the competition in 3 costs.
So I just can't see myself playing her in surfer at all.
Right? Okay, Ben, and you've played surfer more than I have a lot lately, so you agree with me. She looks awkward for surfer, to be honest. So, and 3 can kind of get in that awkward cost where you're like, you want the payoff to really, like, match the stat line. Like, she's got all these 3 5ers to compete with now, and Sage, who's just always fun. Okay. So that's why I put her last, but that said, I think I'll still get her. And as I think Ben said, she's just like a small stat change away from like being way cooler, probably.
Like if she were 3/5, it's a different card.
Yeah, and we already saw that when her data mines had her at a 4 cost before, and it was like going from 4 to 3 makes such a big difference.
Definitely a step in the right direction.
Did you say where you had her at, Lauren?
I have her at 3.
Okay.
Interesting.
Classic Lauren.
Yes, definitely. Maybe a little overconfident in a combo, but I love my combo cards, and I think
you sure do.
I think there's I don't think you to make her really, like sparkle. Maybe it's a complicated combo, but that doesn't mean that's the only way to make that work in that deck. You can do half a combo and have it pay off. Like I'm not upset if I get an extra demon.
No, I think it's a good bounce card. Yeah.
Yeah, or an extra 1/9 raccoon. But yeah, she's definitely she's pretty niche. Because they're just, it's like you were saying with US Agent as like kind of one of the only cards you want to clone. It's like there just aren't that many 1 to 3 cost cards that are worth cloning.
Or specifically like a 2 if you're looking to like cruise up on curve,
2 is great because then it's either 2, 3, or on turn 5 you play 2 plus Frigga, and there just aren't that many cards that like there's not a 2 cost scalar that gets big immediately. It's not like you can retroactively clone Angela.
I mean, you could if you wanted to get Morbius twice. I don't hate that.
Oh, that's pretty good. Yeah,
because that's a scalar that counts from the beginning of time.
Yeah, and, Scream also, I saw somebody mentioning, and I think that's okay. Your second Scream comes out on turn 4.
That's way too late, I think. Second, I don't know about that idea.
Here's the problem
I'm
with
sorry
that.
to immediately be like, Bleh.
Or like the 1-star 2 costs of multiple decks, right? So like you're really gonna throw in like a card for that one card mostly, you know what I mean? Like, because if you're putting her with like a Morbius in discard, well, she doesn't, you know what I mean? You're not going to do that.
Yeah, I think she might actually work well with a lot of other things in discard. Like, if you're discarding the same thing over and over again, like,
but
maybe I want a second Colleen Wing so that I can discard Scorn again, and like. I kind of like this in discard now that I'm thinking about it. All right.
Okay, you are giving more possibilities than I had thought about previously.
I don't think Morbius is the only option there.
Okay, because I was gonna say the problem with it is that like the more discard cards you take out of discard, the harder it is for you to like you pull off your stuff. The more likely you can get hand screwed, and but now that they've divided discard into this like evens versus odds and like weird targeted stuff, Frigga is where you want specific discard cards, like you said, like Colleen Wing. So you're, I don't know. Maybe you're convincing me, Ben.
Calling Wing's a
You
pretty
have
good
more
clone.
discard thoughts about it?
I mean, also, you could get a second Gambit. That's another card that, like, if you're already doing weird things with your curve, you know, you might as well play Gambit on 3 and 5. Why not?
Would you be more excited about Frigga if White Widow hadn't been changed?
I mean, yeah.
Is that a good enough 2? Like, would that join
Yes.
U.S. Agent as a 2?
Absolutely. No, that would be
White
like
Widow.
the thing we're talking about right now. Yep.
Yeah, I think so. So I am high on Frigga, but I also would not be surprised if she gets a buff.
Yeah, I would totally reevaluate this card at 3/5.
I'm so intrigued by this discard idea. That's probably what I would do.
It might be nothing. It's worth thinking
You
about.
don't know until you try. There's been
Or at least until you think
like,
about it.
I don't have a comfort discard again because I haven't quite figured it out now that it's got all this weird targeted stuff. It's not how I tend to build decks, and maybe this is it. Maybe this is for it. Okay.
I mean, you don't have to do targeted things. I've recently started letting the random discards into my heart. I've been playing the aforementioned Gambit, who I did not previously mess around with because a little too random for me. But you know, we all change and grow and try new things and stuff, or at least I hope we do. I don't know.
Okay, next one, Malekith, a 4/6. On reveal, add a 1, 2, or 3 cost card from your deck here. It reveals at the end of the game.
I put this at my number 5 because yeah.
Continue.
I was debating honestly between is it Frigga? How do you say your name? I've started avoiding it because I'm not sure.
I said Frigga. There's 2 G's, but it might be Frigga. I don't know.
It might be Frigga.
I don't know. I feel like I should have.
I'll look it up while you discuss.
So Malekith. So I think what tipped it might have been the deck thinning aspect. Like when you are playing a card later on 4, what you do want to not draw is like a smaller card, you know? So that was part of what bumped it up. But it is a deck, but it feels like kind of the Anti-Venom of this season where it's like, how are you building this deck, you know? It's that okay, why were you interested, Ben? Is that also where you put Malekith?
No, it was not.
No?
Okay, so you sound sort of like I was feeling, like how I had been feeling about Malekith until I started, like, I don't know. As I mentioned, thoughts change and evolve and stuff. And initially, I was okay when I first saw Malekith. I was like, oh, this is a complicated card. There's got to be something clever I'm missing here. There's got to be something real smart, big-brained that everybody else is going to see, and I'm going to feel like the silliest person in the world for not noticing what the smart thing to do here is. No, it's just like, this is a very powerful card in like a raw, like brutish kind of way. Not brutish, but like brutish. Like, we're just bringing the force here. Yeah, recruiting from your deck is effectively drawing a card and generating between 1 and 3 energy. So that more than compensates for like the 4/6 stat line, which is pretty mediocre, but still better than Supergiant, by the way. And keeping the recruit face down. That provides
Supergiant shade.
Well, anyway, point is like, and keeping that recruit that you got for you know your free 1 to 3 energy cost card, like keeping it face down, that gives you an information advantage over your opponent. And in case your parents haven't explained to you where cubes come from, that's where information advantages and stuff. That's where cubes come from, kids. Yeah, it crowds a location, takes up 2 spots on a location. That's a real bummer because you're getting 2 cards for the price of 1, basically. This is like
It's weak to
so
Elias,
efficient.
though.
It's so big and
Can I add the 1, 2, or 3 cost card is from your deck, which means 2
from
things.
your deck.
It means two things.
Can
It's
I
deck
pitch
thinning.
one more little idea?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Here's the postscript. Okay, Quicksilver, Domino, Wiccan, a bunch of 3 costs, and Malekith. And I don't know, maybe play some expensive things too, but like, so you play your Quicksilver, your Domino, and a 3-cost card, and Wiccan, and then you're guaranteed to recruit 3-cost cards with Malekith, and it all like works out and everything loves itself. Yeah, it's all in agreement. I don't know. That was just like a thought. I don't really like building Wiccan decks very much, I've learned, but I just figured I should throw it out there before I pass the ball. Lauren, what do you think?
Okay, so you're pulling a card from your deck. That means 2 things. You are deck thinning, and it's a card that you put in your deck. Probably. I mean, it might
quality.
be a rock. Might be a rock, but it's like this isn't a Maria Hill generated card. This is a card you chose to put there. In the same way that like everybody most people slept on Loki, and then it was like, oh wait, cards that people chose to put in their deck are good cards.
Good cards.
So yeah, you didn't say your rank, Ben, but I have Malekith at number 1.
Oh yeah, number one. Sorry if that was not clear. Yeah, number 1.
I think he's just generically good. He has a little bit of deck building restriction, but not a ton.
I'm gonna Elias it.
You're gonna Elias my 1-cost card? You have fun with that.
Yeah, I hope it's an ebony mob. Okay, no.
I mean, what if it's Gladiator or something? I mean, dang.
You
big 3-cost cards.
I feel like I shouldn't have rated him so low. You've convinced me with your arguments.
Okay,
they're all good cards. Like there are none of these cards where I'm like, how could you rate that number 1? Like they're all fine.
What if
and Zabu?
What if the 3s you're pulling are Wolfsbane, Sage? Like there are some that you're like totally fine if they're played at the end of the game.
Yep.
Killmonger.
Yeah.
Depending on your deck.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe not a Zabu friend,
but also maybe a Zabu friend.
Could be. Could pull Zabu though.
I'm not upset about a 3/6.
A 3/6 plus who the hell knows?
Yeah. Right.
And that's the thing. Your opponent will not know, but you will know.
Yeah, we're assuming.
Right,
we don't know that for sure, but I feel like that's a safe assumption.
You guys convinced me. It seems pretty good.
So when we talked about the data mines, what was it, 1 or 2 weeks ago with Malekith, we kind of went on the same journey where it was like, oh, kind of down on him. And then I was like, oh, but wait. And I feel like we've just like continued that journey even more. Like, oh, okay, yeah, this is a 4/6, generate 1, 2, or 3 energy. Okay. And thin your deck.
Yeah. I mean, like, I really think I only arrived at my current estimation of this power level, like, because we talked about it and I had time to think about it after we talked about it. And like, I really do. I do so value our conversations. They're very helpful for thinking about things.
Oh, sure. And I think listening to other podcasts too, not to, we have great ideas, but that's like something that I love is listening to a bunch of different people.
Listening to enough podcasts.
Hey, it depends on the week on how many I'm listening to, but even getting, 1 or 2 additional perspectives, almost everything is the same I thought through, but they might have like, a couple new ideas. And it's like, it really helps you like form a more cohesive picture, and to think of something clever that you hadn't thought of before. Okay. Next up, Fenris Wolf, a 2/3, activate, resurrect the highest power, discarded or destroyed enemy card to your side of this location. Super cool ability.
Yes. Speaking of pronunciations that are uncertain, I don't know if we're saying it right.
Fenris?
I'm open to the possibility we've been saying it aggressively wrong this entire time. And if a listener wants to gotcha us, feel free. I would rather be right eventually than always wrong forever. And just
I did look up Frigga. It's Frigga, by the way.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Talk about Fenris Wolf. I'll look him up too.
Okay, so yeah, my expectations for Fenris Wolf have I don't know. They've deflated slightly because we've known the text and it's been unchanged for so long. Like, I feel like we talked about this card in like the first episode of Snap on This or something like that. And
Is it always an activate?
Yep, activate,
Okay.
and I think it always did discards and destroys. So I'm a little lower on it than I was the first time we read these words, but
Same.
I still think it looks pretty good. You know, it pairs with all the obvious stuff. Your Shang's Chi, your Negasonic Teenage Warheads, your Spider-Man's 2099, Moon Knight, you know, whatever else discards or destroys things. Your Samurai, your Black Bolt, your Lady Deathstrike, we all know the cards that do those things. I could keep listing them, but the thing is, cheap activate cards are the best activate cards, right? So you got like most of the game to wait until something satisfactory dies or gets discarded. You don't have to like settle for the first thing you snipe, you know? And it also recently occurred to me that when you use this activate ability, you're probably removing that card from the opponent's resurrection pool for purposes of Hela, Ghost Rider, or Valley of the Hand. So, that's not like a reason to do Fenris Wolf stuff, but like it is a fun little bonus if you happen to get a favorable matchup there.
It's a cool little FU in the matchup.
Them. Yeah. So yeah, I like this card. I don't think it's the best of the month, but I do think it's probably better than some people will expect.
What's your placement?
I mean, I don't know what everyone's different expectations are on this podcast or outside of this podcast. I just think that there are probably some people who are going to underestimate Fenris Wolf.
What's your placement?
Oh, my placement. Maybe I'm underestimating Fenris Wolf. I don't know. I put it at number 4.
Okay.
I put it at number 3. I put it at 1 higher. I also am a bit lower on it. Okay. It's kind of a 3 because I do think it has the power to affect the meta. You know, if it comes to that week and everyone's hype and everyone's playing Fenris Wolf. But on the flip side, it's kind of easy to count, you know what I mean? To like, because it's like they still have to shung something of yours, you know what I mean? Or discard something large of yours. Like, for it to be
those
huge.
Things are their own reward already.
True. So, yeah, I guess it's more, it does end up being a decent amount of power for a 2 cost, and works in line with your other strategies. But it's still something you need to build around to make it happen a bit, to get your value out of it.
You got to commit to the lifestyle for sure.
And I think that's one reason I rated it low is just some of the cards I rated it higher are just going to be way easier to get off, I think, to hit their payoff. What about you, Lauren?
I also put him at 4. It's Fenris, by the way, the pronunciation.
Cool.
So my thoughts are, Shang is far and away the best combo piece with this, right? It's cool that it's targeted resurrection, but most of the other ways that you can make your opponent destroy or discard something, you're not discarding or destroying something that's super strong.
You're not guaranteeing size the way that you do there.
Yeah, unless you're like, okay, Lady Deathstrike on an Iron Man, like it's possible, but it's super niche situation. And speaking of that, I think the Shang is also a niche situation. What if you're playing against an opponent who's not putting out 10 power cards or is only putting one out on turn 6 and you have to soul read them? And they know you have Fenris Wolf on the board, by the way, because if it's a surprise send with Fenris Wolf, you don't get to activate it. So it is super strong. Say put it up against a Surtur deck, and they're throwing 10s everywhere. You have Fenris in one lane, Shang in another lane. Shang is getting rid of all the big power there, and then you get to bring more power here. But
that is so true. They like to do that. Like Surtur gets to run free for a few weeks, and then Fenris Wolf comes along.
I think it's the first time since Mobius and Loki that we've had the direct counter coming out just like the same season.
Yeah, I've got one thought about the Shang-Chi thing. I think the other good card to pair with, like, I listed several that, destroy or discard things, but I think that Moon Knight is going to be a good partner in crime because discarding an even cost card means you're probably getting something that costs 2, 4, or 6, unless they're running Yellow Jacket or Wasp. And so, like, it's at least 2 cost, and it might be 6 cost.
That's a good point. But you have to have a deck that's built to be Moon Knight
Negasonic,
yourself.
Moon Knight, and Shang-Chi, I think, are the 3 best ones to go with.
But also the thing with Moon Knight is it's not, unless you're playing another discard deck, which is always rough for Moon Knight. It's not double-sided, because if they're playing their own Fenris Wolf, they're not getting your Apocalypse or Proxima. You know what I mean? So
true. Yeah.
Because
they're not in your discard pool. Okay, I want to talk more about the Surtur matchup, though.
Okay, yes.
Your opponent sees Fenris there. How do you solve this problem? You put extra power in the Fenris lane, because Fenris only resurrects to his own lane. What are they going to do? Shang that lane and Fenris that lane? They won one lane. Woo! Like, it just... The fact that they can see it coming means that they can play around it, which means then there's like tension, like, oh, I'm going to delay Fenris until turn 5, so they've already spread some power around. Like, it's really interesting tension, just the interaction between Shang Fenris and Surtur Scar.
Yeah. Man, this card's going to be interesting at the very least.
Yeah, I think it's super interesting, but I just think is game winning in certain situations, but not guaranteed if you're playing well or if your opponent is playing well. And there's going to be plenty of situations where it just like doesn't do that much.
But also, this is a card that it's a 2-drop that you can actually play on 2. And like,
we like those.
I've spent a lot of time thinking this week about US Agent, a 2-drop that you can play on 2, but probably shouldn't most of the time. And like,
you have Madam Web.
Yeah, this is like something that this can be part of your like early ground invasion. And if it doesn't work out, boo-hoo, you've gone on to live the rest of your long, full game life, I don't know.
There's something we're missing with like White Widow, and Jeff is still good, but like not the like obvious 2-slot.
Yeah, just like a 2-drop that you can play like full steam ahead. Like, we're just putting bodies on the board.
Gone. Yeah. Like, Silk is gone. Where are just like the big 2 bodies that are like, this is what we're doing this turn.
Also, this is the part of the episode where I say buff Silk to 2/6 already. Just do it. Okay, we can move on now.
No, I agree with it, but I do think Fenris Wolf would be a good card, but I feel like there's just this sense of he's such an easy, free good card, and I think there's just some more factors to him than that.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I agree. Very strong when he works. I don't think he's as free. Do we just, while we're talking about those 2s, is that one of the huge edges that Agent Venom has? Besides just being very strong, he's also a 2 you want to play on 2.
Yeah, that's definitely part of the... I mean, like, Ravona's good for the same reason. Like, what are you doing on turn 2? You're playing Ravona, damn it! Like, yeah.
And also with Agent Venom, it's like if you get him late, a 2/4 is still great, and you're probably playing him in a deck where you are playing out a lot of little power cards or something, or filling the board where he's good. So, and it's rare you can kind of get one that you really want to hit on 2, but it's still like, oh, it's still not bad later on at all.
That card should not be 2/4. That's just...
Yeah.
I kind of agree.
They really need to pick a lane, folks. Like, is it a card that you play on 2 and feel bad about playing late, or just
2/4's good stats.
Okay.
Yes.
The 4 is nice, the symmetry with his ability, but like Bast is a 1/1. We know the symmetry is nice, but we know that ultimately they care about mechanics.
Not a must.
Yeah. Okay. Gorr, 6 -1. Ongoing, +2 for each on reveal card in play.
Gorr the God Butcher.
Indeed.
Jeez.
Christian Bale.
Call him by his Christian name.
So I'm not super enthusiastic about this card. Does anyone have like real strong? I mean, like I've got thoughts, but I have no pep about it.
Here, I have.
Does anyone love this card? Would they love to tell me why they love it?
Okay, well, I don't love it, but I did put it at number 2 because I think it's just a really strong card. As you can tell from the -1 they plop down on. And here's why. One, we know Gilgamesh is a good card. We know it's a good card. I think this is like just way easier to get higher than Gilgamesh. On reveals just do great things anyway. Even if that Cosmo, gets put on an on reveal card, it's still buffing Gorr. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it's like your opponents are likely to play. And because it's a card your last turn playing, you're, like I said, you're not going to get Fenris Wolfed, And here's the problem with Gilgamesh. I often, if I'm playing a Gilgamesh deck, I know where they're going to drop the Gilgamesh deck, because to spring the Gilgamesh, they're usually filling the board, and it's some Dazzler nonsense. So I'm like, here's the one spot Gilgamesh is going, so if I can lose Prio, I can just shang it. But with Gorr, you're not filling your board for Gilgamesh reasons, you know what I mean, necessarily, and they don't know where it's going. And if that's your final drop, you're probably going to hit it big wherever you hit it, I don't know. So I think it's good, but I think it's boring. I also don't play Gilgamesh, ever.
And you said you added it at number 2?
Yeah, I think it's strong. Yeah. I think it's just a strong finisher card.
Yeah.
I would add in, you have Viper, Acid Arrow, Annihilus, both goblins that are cards that you can fill the opponent's board and still benefit Gorr. Definitely. I think Gilgamesh is a very interesting comparison, because isn't Gilgamesh +1? So Gorr is +2.
But he starts at a 9,
Yeah, right. But Gorr is +2 and targets both sides of the board instead of just your side of the board. I ranked him 6. It's probably too low. And I know I was hard on Ajax. I knew Red Hulk was going to be good, but it's just not my cup of tea.
Yeah, but you don't. I totally get that.
I need to amend this list. Gorr does need to be higher than number 6, because I guess it's only 7 on reveals for Gorr to be bigger than Hulk. I mean, Hulk should not be our baseline. He's the vanilla card.
Yeah.
That's the floor. That's not the.
I mean, even my ongoing deck is playing 2 on reveal cards in it. All other ongoing cards. So it's just you're gonna hit some. I mean, who's not playing some on reveals in their deck?
How big does he need to be usually for you to want to play this card?
I have some thoughts about that.
Ooh, okay.
Oh, is this your math card?
Can I unpack my ambivalence here about Gorr the God Butcher? Okay, I've got little enthusiasm for the card. It does, however, promise to deliver a mountain of stats. We're talking smaller than Blob Classic, bigger than Modern Blob. So you can expect 3 on reveals from your opponent on a slow day. That's what I think. That's my hunch. I can't prove that, but I bet you get 3 almost every game. And you yourself should be contributing at least 6 if that's the plan, if that's what we're doing here. So I think this card pairs extremely well with Kate Bishop and 3 of her 4 arrows. And for those curious about hey, what about Shauna, right? What about Shauna? That's a way to play multiple on reveals off of a single card. And for those curious about that Shauna math, there are 49 1 costs that will be out this month, counting King Eitri, and 23 of them have on reveal. So that's a little less than half. So you're probably getting 1 to 2.
1.5.
Yeah, 1.5-ish. So Shauna's probably good for 2.45-ish on reveals. And obviously this card gets an extremely sweet deal from the Mr. Negative inversion. But I think the funniest home for this card is in a Ronin deck with Master Mold, where you're just daring them to play some Sentinels. Go ahead. Yeah, smooth out your curve with a few more Sentinels. Do it. I'll give you plenty of rope to hang yourself. Okay, so those are my thoughts about Gorr. I'm not a fan of this card, but you gotta respect a blob.
What about Snowguard also?
The guy kills gods.
Oh, great. That is a great way to get multiple on reveals off a single card, though not as quick as Shauna.
Right.
Wait, sorry, I missed it. What'd you say?
Snowguard. I really wish the Auroras would be 2 costs. When is that going to happen? Like, Loki's not the terror he used to be. Let's make the Auroras 2 costs again.
Yeah. Man, there's so much that would be easier if Loki weren't in the picture.
Well, he's not really anymore, right? Like, that's why they changed him, is so that
No, Loki's still in the picture.
Just got
just absorbed by Arishem. It's just,
I kind of agree.
But he's not.
I have seen.
He's not the ruiner of card gen cards, which was their whole point of changing his ability, is so that Kate Bishop wasn't just going to be a Loki card.
That's true.
Yeah.
His position has changed. You're right about that. Definitely wearing different hats than he used to. I mean, still the same horny headgear, but different metaphorical hats.
I forgot about Mr. Negative, even though that was like the first thought when you see his stat line in the first place.
I feel like we've talked about this card enough times that like we've discussed the Mr. Negative angle. I just thought I'd bring it up one mo again.
Okay. Yeah, he replaces Null in that deck.
Yeah. Yeah. I would agree.
Dang it. I don't like big 6 cost cards.
Yeah, I know. I don't like it. I mean, I put it at number 3.
I have to figure out where to put him. I need to put him higher.
I think
don't worry about the rank. Like,
I want to. No, I think we should just stick with it.
I have to be accurate.
Otherwise, I got to put Malekith higher. Clearly.
Yeah,
I think our number rankings are not as important as the things we say about these cards.
Discussion is more important. You're right.
Yeah.
I think that's.
We have one more. King.
Wait, I wanted to say first
please.
that you guys are complaining about the 6 cost cards. I think this, and I used to always be on that side, but I think maybe this is the season that turns it around for me. I think maybe I get into it. The big 6 cost cards. We'll see, because Surtur just, I don't know. I used to play that Moonlight and Madness deck that was all about, it's not viable anymore in the meta, but it was about, you'd slam down so much power. It was a Sauron deck. You didn't care about armor protecting them because they can only shun one lane, And I feel like Surtur is going to bring that energy back for me of like just daring you to take me down, We'll see. Anyway, sorry, just for the people who might be enthusiastic about some big channel cards, just saying. Sorry, tangent over.
No, I appreciated it. I enjoyed it.
Speaking of cards that are hard to pronounce, King Eitri. I tried looking it up real quick, but it seems like in the mythology there's not the I on the end. I don't know. I was having trouble. Anyway, Eitri. A 1/2, activate. Draw a card that didn't start in your deck. So I'll just echo what we talked about last time, where this is a card that goes with hammers. It goes with Loki if you get it first. It goes with Thanos.
So many
and
decks.
It goes with
Yeah.
Arishem.
Yep, those 3 seem like the big home. Also, I think it should be pointed out that this is a perfect Jane Foster alternative specifically for hammer decks with Frigga, because they sort of preclude,
right?
you can't do Jane Foster and then Frigga the hammer. Like they're just, you technically could, I guess, with Limbo or whatever and extenuating circumstances, but that's ridiculous. And also,
Ben, you have to say it with more energy, though. This is huge for him.
I didn't get much sleep. I don't have the. And I also don't give a shit about hammers.
I want to. I think it's fun. I think hammers are fun, but they're so wonky. You know what I mean? Because it's like if you get them late and all this stuff. But this is one excuse to be excited about Activate, is throwing that King Eitri down. You can, like you were just saying, comboing it with Frigga, later, setting up your hammers for success, setting them up for success. And it's like, for me, this is starting to solve some problems with the reason I haven't played hammer decks more. And that's huge. And I put it at a 4 because power wise, but I think it fits in so many decks and it's so fun. Cause guess what? Almost every
it's
time,
definitely fun.
you're putting a card in your deck yourself anyway. Don't draw a rock. Don't do that. But
Or do.
anytime you want to draw that card, it's a fun card to draw. So I think a lot of decks are going to enjoy this card, and it's cheap, so it's easier to put in than you might otherwise. So I'm hyped for this card. I think it's a fun little card.
I'm definitely looking forward to generating it randomly and using it to pull out a piece of vibranium or a rock or like something. Like the off-label uses, I think, are going to be like the fun part. Is my thinking.
Pulling a rock or vibranium, as we talked about before, is not the worst thing.
No, it's obviously not plan A. That's not why you put them in your deck.
Yeah.
Definitely not.
But you are thinning it. You're less likely to, like, it's a draw still. It's still a draw.
Yeah.
From
you
a
get another
joy
draw after
level,
Right.
way down on the joy meter.
I had the realization, this is an interesting card because we know Ree especially hates activates because of how late they, like, you can't play them late, but he enables you to play Thor or Beta Ray Bill on turn 5.
Right.
Like, you could before, but like, that was
But you
sketch.
shouldn't.
Yeah. And now you can be like,
Huge.
Thor Eitri, and you get the hammer immediately on the turn that you played Thor.
That's huge. Yeah.
It's going to
It's
be
cool.
hammer time that week. It's going to be so good.
Like, it really helps with the curve of that deck, which doesn't always get to do Thor, Beta Ray Bill, Jane, right? Like, there's plenty of times you don't draw that. This really strengthens when the draw's off.
Yeah. It'll be a
although I
good
still think
week.
he's
I
probably
don't
best
think I
for
gave
Asgard.
my ranking. I had King Eitri at number 5.
I have him at 5 too.
All right. Well,
Them's the cards,
I'm
right?
confident in mine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, we did it.
Would we
Okay,
all
are
like
we-
to list them as we
Listeners,
discussed?
you start then.
All right. In
I
the
need to
number
know.
1 spot, Malekith. And number 2, with all the bullets, Surtur. Number 3, Gorr, the God Butcher. Number 4, Fenris Wolf. Number 5, King Eitri. And number 6, Frigga. Those are the cards as I see them. Again, these numbers are largely meaningless. Mostly it's about the content of the stuff that we said. So I'm not saying that any of these cards are bad. I do think that Frigga is probably the most skippable of them for me.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Are we amending
Did
our
you
list?
change yours? I know. That's what I was asking.
That's what I need to know.
Oh
Am
no, I measured twice, cut once. Y'all know this.
No. But Rhea and I need to move Gorr, and she needs to move Malekith.
Oh, I mean,
Okay. No,
I'm
it's
amending
fine.
mine.
This was my.
I'm amending it.
All right. I don't stand by my own numbers, but my original list was Surtur, Gorr, Fenris Wolf, King Eitri, Malekith, and then Frigga last. But I don't know that I would have put Malekith at number 1 necessarily, but I've seen the light. And I do think I missed a lot with them there.
Good. Seen the light of the dark elf.
Yeah,
okay.
the dark side.
Uh-huh.
I still want Darth Lauren. Angry about lockdown. Okay, continue.
I still have, or I have Malekith. This is the original list. Malekith number 1, Surtur number 2, Frigga 3, Fenris 4, Eitri 5, Gorr 6. In retrospect, I think I'd shoot Gorr all the way up to like 2 or 3.
good lists and good discussion. I just love chatting with you both.
I think it looks like a fun season.
I agree.
Yeah,
it's hard
most
for me to
definitely.
decide where to put my keys. I think I'm going to spend them all early and be sad.
It's so weird. This is the first time we're going into a season and we don't know what the next season is. Like, if next season is a freaking banger, I would be more conservative with my keys this season, right? And maybe that's the point.
Oh, it's so hard. I really want a lot of these cards. And some of them that we put in the rankings lower were not because we aren't interested in playing with them at all. It's just like stack rankings, So
Yeah, and like part of it is like I have Eitri and Wolf lower because partially because they're quite niche. Moving on to side quests. There's only one side quest this week because ranking week is a long week.
Yes, it is.
The secret homework was to design a spooky card. Here's mine. The character is not super spooky, but I think the context around his ability is very spooky. This is Forget-Me-Not. It's a mutant who kind of like, his ability makes it so that people don't notice him. Even technology doesn't notice him. And when you aren't noticing him, he's gone from your memory. Like, he gets wiped from your memory. So, like, there's evidence of him left behind, like, oh, he's eating cereal or using toilet paper. But, like, there's just, like, haven't they, like, retconned some, like, X-Men stories that, like, oh, he was there the whole time, but he wasn't in the panel because everybody forgot about him. A pretty clever little character.
Those are always fun.
Yeah.
Forget-Me-Not.
That is a fun premise.
2-3. Like, what a disturbing life, right? Like, anyway.
Oh, yeah. Sounds horrific.
2-3.
Some Twilight Zone shit.
I was reading on the wiki, trying to find some, like, a card that would be good with this ability. Because that's what I did, the ability first, and then tried to find a card that would fit it. And I guess there was some point where he was, like, really close to getting his ability removed, and he decided last second not to because he realized he could still do good in the world because of his ability. Okay. Forget-Me-Not. 2-3. This doesn't reveal until the game ends. While this is unrevealed, your opponent cannot see it.
Whoa, I love it. That is brilliant, Lauren. Oh, wow. That's so very good.
I thought about, like, oh, there's a problem. Like,
what do you do in situations where it would become clear? Like,
yeah, like they try to play their goblin and the goblin doesn't come over. And I was
like,
like,
Nebula.
Yeah. I tried text. I tried having text that would be like, or it prevents a card from joining this location, but it just made the text too long.
Here's the thing. You don't have to put it in the text. I just want to know. Like,
I considered, because you don't want to make it confusing for players, and they only need to experience it once and be like, why did that happen? I can't figure out. And then at the end of the game, he reveals and they're like, oh, and then they would know in the future. But I do think it'd be cool if there was a little animation. Like, if it was revealed anyway that he's there, like, flash him for a second, like, have him appear and then disappear again. Have the opponent forget that he was there.
What if it's a reveal animation, but you don't see which lane he was placed in? So you're like, oh, there's a Forget-Me-Not. But I
think the context would make it clear which lane he was placed in, right?
Yeah, if there was something that happened, like you said, like a nebula or like something can't join the location, then yeah. I also thought about, but you're going to notice that their hand size is one smaller. And I'm like, it kind of just adds to the creepiness. Like,
will people notice that the hand size is one smaller? I bet people won't.
Most people won't, but it's like the people who do, it's like, oh, so Forget-Me-Not's out, but you have no idea which lane he's on. And I kind of think that adds to the spookiness. So I just kept it really simple. The only time he reveals is at the end of the game.
Yeah, that's a very cool design. That's much more ambitious than what I had.
Okay.
And I like the aspect of the things like Nebula and stuff could reveal a weird, unsettling, gaslighting feeling.
I ended up thinking that adds to the coolness.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
Get clues, you could detective it.
Creepy.
Then I am up next, right? Yeah. Okay. So mine is a bonus because it's 2 cards. Oh, 2 cards in one. Right? So I picked, and I forgot to look up whether this was like a data mine card we didn't have info on. Hopefully not. But it drew from the other card that I know is not in the game. I needed a connected card. So the first card is Nicholas Scratch. And it's a 1/2 cost. At the end of the game, summon Shuma Gorath to this location. Now, if you're not familiar with Shuma Gorath, it's typically a Doctor Strange villain. It's the demon that's a giant eye surrounded by tentacles. Like a beholder if the tentacles were way huger, or a jellyfish with a giant eye in the middle. Kind of deal. And
it was in the latest Doctor Strange movie, right?
Yeah.
Or something like it was, at the very least.
Tentacles.
It may not have been Garath, yeah.
So it's a very big, it's a very Lovecraftian villain, right? It's considered kind of a, whatever they call their elder gods, maybe just
Eldritch
older gods
horror,
or something.
Horror.
Yeah, and it's kind of, so it's got those vibes of being summoned and being otherworldly and creepy. And okay, and Shuma Garath is the 6/6 with the ability feel, say things right, fill all empty spaces with a 0/-3 tentacle card.
Oh, on both sides of the board?
Correct. Double edge.
Wow. I like
So-
that.
And this is a 1/2 that does this?
Yes, but it's a 1/2
What?
that
Okay.
can get Red Guardian, that can get Killmongered. You know what I
Okay.
mean? That maybe you didn't draw, but part of it is that you see it coming because it's an elder god, right? So you need the fear. It seems insurmountable. Can you fill all your locations to avoid the -3 cards before he
Wow,
arrives?
wow, these are both much more ambitious designs than mine.
That is terrifying. Good job.
But there's
guess-
interaction ability. A lot of decks now do end up filling a lot of their board. You know what I mean? And
True.
if they don't, like a -3 might not be enough to make a huge difference in the power they're putting into that lane, you know? So
Yeah,
I
the ones
think
that don't play big cards, yeah.
hopefully not too overbalanced. Like I said, it's a 1/2 that Electra can take down, you know? Like
Electra,
and
who's
I feel
everywhere.
like- right? It's very themey with the summoning of the elder gods, you know. So yeah.
I wonder if you would add a clause like, you can't play this on turn 6. But
I actually did mean to put I
Oh,
forgot.
okay.
Like it couldn't be played. I was like, when I made this, it needs to have like some kind of magic deal where you can't play it after turn 5 or something.
I didn't
So I
mean
think the people able to need to see it coming, right?
Yeah, I don't want to edit
Yeah,
your,
I
but
think
it's just
that's
like
part
you
of the
mentioned that the horror is like the build up, and it's like, oh, do you have a way to deal with this by the end of the game? And I think that's fun.
Yeah. No, it should definitely have a specific, and it's like, what turn is that? Maybe turn 4 might be the appropriate turn. You can't play it after whatever. So, but yes, I don't think you should be able to play it in turn 6. Too OP.
It's very cool,
That is very cool.
and the animation would freaking rule.
Right.
This would be in the time of big bads. This would be a 1-cost big bad. Heck
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, I suppose so. Or yeah, a small bad.
There's
Feels
more
like-
counters than one.
Small-
If they could
small bad.
also, if they can't fill their sides of the board and they can't kill Monger, they could fill the side of your board with Nicholas Scratch on it, so it can't summon Shumagrath to that location. So you like goblin
Yeah.
it or put
Yeah.
debris rocks there or whatever.
Several ways
so
to counter it. I like it.
counter it.
Very cool.
Very telegraphed.
All right, Ben.
Okie dokie. Well, I went through some thoughts. I was like, I don't know that many spooky characters. I'm not a spooky kid. Like as we established last week, I'm about X-Men and Spider-Man, and I rarely venture beyond those walls. But you know, also I haven't cracked too many comic books in the past 15 to 20 years, I would say. So I was like, well, what can I pull from the MCU? Or what could I pull? To be honest, my first thought was, I'm going to go through my Versus System cards. This is a defunct Marvel card game of yore.
I have some of those cards also.
Yeah, and I was like, I'll pull something from the Underworld faction. They've got a lot of spookies in there. Your Mephistos and your, Ghost Rider villains and your Doctor Strange villains and all sorts of supernatural horror things. But I'm like, but I don't know those characters. Not really. I don't really know them. So that would feel fake to me. So I didn't want to do that. And then I was like, what about Morlun from one of my favorite Spider-Man stories when I was a kid? It's the one that introduced Ezekiel Sims, who some people may remember from Madame Web, the the film. But no, he's way cooler in the comics. But anywho, this Moreland character has been used several times in recent years to the extent that I no longer feel any sort of like expertise or like ownership within my own mind of the character. I'm like, oh, that one's gotten away from me. They used him too many times, so I'm not going to do Moreland. So I'm like, yeah, what's in the MCU that I could pull that I would feel qualified to speak of or whatever. You know, like I just want to have like some claim to it as a thing that I know enough about. And I went with speaking of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. You know, it's a Sam Raimi joint, and it's, along with Werewolf by Night, easily the most horror coded of the MCU offerings. That and the Marvel Zombies episode of What If. So I was like, yeah, pull something from Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. And what's horrific there? You know what's really horrific? Getting multiple versions of the same character. I don't like that stuff in licensed card games, and Versus System did it a lot. And Marvel Snap just recently did it for like the first time with Symbiote Spider-Man, a card that I'm sort of philosophically opposed to, although I think it's kind of neat. So I'm doing a thing that I complain about and dropping Darkhold Strange on ya. The subtitles of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness refer to this character as Sinister Strange, but I decided that would be too confusing. What with Mr. Sinister? So Darkhold Strange is the spooky Doctor Strange that he meets about 2/3 of the way through the movie, who has caused an incursion in his own reality by, you know, making deals with the devil and reading evil books and, you know, just being shady and doing Doctor Strange stuff, you know, like making his classic Doctor Strange mistakes, being unable to accept things. And yeah, but point is, anywho, I'm calling him Darkhold Strange because he's got the Darkhold, and the stat line is 4/6. You may notice that is double the energy and double the power of Strange Classic. And on reveal, steal 2 power from the highest power card in your opponent's hand. So I like that he still grabs the highest power thing, except this time it's your opponent's and it's in their hand, and he's stealing power from it. So it's like, it's a little bit basic and down and dirty, and I spent more time telling you how I arrived at this character than there was really to say about the card design. But, the assignment really... I was pulling my hair out over this one, and I wanted you all to know that a great deal of thought went into this very boring card.
But it's so cool. I want Darkhold. I thought Darkhold Strange was so cool, like in the What Ifs, right? It's such a dark storyline. You like really like set me up to think I was going to be bored, and you're like Darkhold Strange. I'm like, I want that immediately. Yeah. Also, really cool, like the double, because the Darkhold having like with the double power, double cost, all kinds of thematically appropriate. And I honestly think you even undertuned him. I would say you should steal like 3 power or whatever, right? You know, it's a good ability.
Well, in that case, I mean, like, it's already that's a 10 point. Like, it's effectively a 4/10 the way it is. It would be like a 4/12.
But think about, like...
Well, it's only a 4/10 if they play the card, I guess.
Right. Think about Silver Sable versus America Chavez. And part of that is, let's call this a Series 5 card. But I think also part of it is, in one of them, you control the 2 power. In the other one, they control the 2 power.
That's
so
true.
I think they give more for stealing. Yeah, I think you undertuned it just a little.
Maybe it could be taken there. I don't know. I also had versions of the card that discarded a card to move their highest power card and steal. Like, I went with like the simplest version. I knew it had to be your opponent's highest cost card. And some other things that I thought might be good to work in there were stealing power, having Doctor Strange like stats.
So thematic.
I had so many like alternate versions of this card.
Your idea has been. It's a very cool idea.
It's not that cool.
Also,
it's not as cool as the Ball of Our Trask one was. It's not as cool as Corsair. I don't know.
What you're not Ben, what you missed also is that like the variants for this card, they're gonna be so good. They're looking fabulous in ink. Like This dark horror, like
This is one that
like,
you're going to want inked for sure.
I want a kind of like dark horror themed. I guess we have the Momokos now. Like, I wonder if we could
Momoko
build
Nightmares
an
are pretty
all, like,
good.
They
horror.
are very good. I don't.
You know?
I mean, they're going to have to be premium mystery variants for me because, yeah. But I'll be happy to get one when I get one. Like, I want people to know that, like, I do think the art in this game is very cool. I just don't like throwing money at it for
resources.
a variety
I
of
agree,
reasons.
and it's hard to be.
Or resource. Any of it, you know.
Yeah.
There are many factors at work, and none of them is Ben hates art. I just want that to be known. I do
The
like
only
art.
Nightmare product I bought was the Avatar. I did not get any of the cards. Just a little too pricey for me.
Yeah, that's where I was at. But yeah.
Are we ready to discuss next week's assignment?
Ready.
Yes, assign the homework.
All right. I kind of want to open it up to a little bit of discussion. I've got some options for you. I don't want to assign anything too burdensome, or I don't know. So let me just start pitching some stuff. How about, well, you guys haven't finished Agatha all along, and by Friday, surely our listeners, probably many of them, the ones who are watching, will have seen that. But my co-hosts are operating in ignorance of the final twists and
One day
things.
for Halloween. Yeah.
But I'm gonna say I think it would be fun if each of us designed a card around one of the members of the Coven on Agatha all along.
Oh, heck yeah.
And, obviously not Agatha or the other one who's already in the game. I don't know where the listeners are in the series. I don't want to spoil anything unnecessary.
Sure.
But yeah, and if you guys decide you like the Coven design idea, I want you to know that I'll let somebody else have Lilia, the Patti LuPone character that I'm sure everybody really wants to do. So one of you two could have her. I think I would take Sharon Davis, aka Mrs. Hart, played by the singular Deborah Jo Rupp of that 70s show fame. I think that's the one I would take if you guys like this Coven design idea.
I love
if
it.
you don't like that idea, or if you like this idea better, I would love to hear a parody verse of Marvel Snap related lyrics for the Ballad of the Witch's Road. You can also do both, I guess, if you want. I'm all about the opportunities for extra credit. And
that's
if you
so
guys,
much extra credit, though.
If you guys like those ideas enough, I'm not going to spend any further idea. I won't even tell you what else I might be thinking if you like those ideas.
Yes,
I love
Let's
them.
do it. Let's do Agatha. This is the only time it'll be so relevant, you know.
Also, I got to be honest. I enjoyed Agatha all along a lot, and I don't. Yeah. I enjoy a lot of Marvel things, but my enthusiasm is rarely this wholehearted. I will say.
Let's assign cards.
I'm very pro Agatha. Yeah.
Who do you want, Lauren?
Is it Alice?
Yeah,
I like Alice a lot. Oh, I also like the potions.
I love Alice too.
Potions lady.
That's Jen.
I know. I'm also. Even though we've watched it all. Okay, then if you were into either of those, then I do want the tarot card reader, fortune teller.
All right, so Ree's taking Lilia. I'm taking Sharon Davis, and Lauren. Who did you pick again?
Alice. Maybe Jen. I'll take Alice.
You'll take
Either
Alice.
one.
Alice is the protection
be
witch.
Yeah, I have loved the show, and I think that our parody verse should be. I think we should do one verse about our witch.
Ooh, okay. All right, this is manageable.
Okay.
It's your homework. That's just my discussion part of it.
Okay. Also, the song verse is extra credit. So if you drop the ball on one part of this assignment, let it be that one.
Yes.
Cool. Okay, that wasn't as bad as I thought. I'm glad y'all
You're
like
way
those
too
ideas.
stressed, Ben. You're doing great.
Okay. We've come to the end, which is great because I have to go pick up my kid from the Halloween party at school. If you liked listening to this, and of course you did because we rock, I have this confidence in every aspect of my life.
Oh my goodness.
Follow, listen, subscribe, review, etc. We're on podcast places. We're on YouTube. Remy is making this very easy. Twitter handles are in the video description or the show notes. You can send us email at snaponthispod@gmail.com. We are proudly part of the Snap Judgments Network, where you can listen to other great shows like How Can She Snap, Snap Decisions, and Snap Judgments. I'm saying all three of them this week. This week, I'm featured on Snap Judgments, episode 100, which also features a very special guest from Second Dinner. I was going to say Special Dinner. So check that out, I believe, on Saturday. Check it out on Saturday. The latest episode of Snap Judgments. We have some pretty good discussion with the game's designer, principal game designer, Glenn Jones. Hopefully that wasn't supposed to be a secret. If it was, congratulations on finding out one day ahead of time. And with that, tune in next week. Same Snap time, same Snap channel.
Yay! Happy Halloween. Everything.
Okay, tell us about was it a card game? A mobile game?
No, I feel bad now. We went so long. You don't hear about
It's
this.
okay.
For the purposes of Pokemon Pocket, or whatever it's called, right? Which is more of a collection game, and I'm like, look at your shinies, and woo, look at all the visuals. That's what all the commercials were. Like, closing Snap to open that actually gave me the permission to open this Cardcaptor Sakura game I installed like a month ago and never played, and it's everything I want from Pokemon Pocket, where it's just like, here, there's these beautiful, like, little cards that it's like how you look at gorgeous Snap art late at night on your phone, and it's like these little animated, like, chibi statuette, like, of Sakura that you're collecting, and different outfits, and I just, like, I think I, like, played it for, hopefully not a full 2 hours last night, but it's just, because it's just a little mobile game, which I usually don't get into.
If it brought you joy.
I loved.
Yeah.
I know, it's an anime I loved when I was young, and so I love it forever.